And it somehow feels like deadline day. There's a lot of busy and dramatic stories moving around at the moment.
There is, and this one this morning, we saw Paul Joyce earlier on this morning said that Liverpool are looking to complete the deal for Alexis Mac Allister this week. Minutes later, Fabrizio says, "Here we go. It is a done deal. The contracts are signed." What's your understanding of this situation, and can Liverpool fans expect an official announcement from Liverpool this week?
Well, the first thing to say is that Liverpool have always been confident on Alexis Mac Allister. The second thing to say is my understanding is still that there is some work to be done. Now, that's not to put the deal in doubt, and it's not to suggest that Liverpool won't sign Alexis Mac Allister, but sources have indicated that today is still a key day. And this is what Liverpool do. They don't jump the gun. They're not overconfident on any deal. They're only cautiously optimistic. And the situation with Alexis Mac Allister is, yes, he's set to become Liverpool's first signing of the summer, but there is still some work to be done between the parties. And by work to be done, I don't mean anything untoward or worrying. I just mean that today is considered by those close to Liverpool Football Club as still a big day in the meetings. And I think the reason why it's logical to go from a big day today to a done deal and medicals being scheduled, as Fabrizio Romano has reported, is because within the Alexis Mac Allister new deal that he signed, there is a form of exit clause. And this is why Liverpool, first of all, can get a bargain from the deal, and second of all, can feel confident that once they have everything in place, they will be able to wrap this up with all parties on both the player side and the club side. So I wouldn't necessarily say it is 100% done or signed, but what I would say is that, as it has been for weeks, highly likely that Liverpool will now sign Alexis Mac Allister and within the next 24 to 48 hours. But again, sources close to the deal are adamant that today is still a very significant day in terms of talks between the parties.
Absolutely. And I think it feels like one of those deals, Alexis Mac Allister, that it's almost like one of the worst kept secrets. It's felt to me as if this deal would complete very quickly in this window. It looks like it's motoring towards that, and slight differences, but almost, all the top journalists kind of singing from the same hymn sheet. Done to nearly done, should complete, highly confident. There shouldn't really be any stings in the tower. It doesn't look like anybody's going to come in and whisk him away from Liverpool. Paul Joyce, we knew he would as a Liverpool journalist. He threw the dagger into United this morning with Man United were looking but didn't go any further. That seems to be the case with every deal that Liverpool get right now. But look, more to come on that, and I'm sure as things break, there'll be some more conversations around that. And of course, last night, Ben, you broke this news before any journalist in the world, and I know a lot of Chelsea fans are tuning in today because they want to understand what went wrong or what happened more so than wrong. But the Ugarte deal is Chelsea pulled out of it, essentially. Why did they do that? And what's next for Chelsea?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a complicated one as well. Just one very quick thing as well on Alexis Mac Allister before we wrap up on that. The fee, as I understand it, will be undisclosed, but from the Liverpool perspective, they believe that they've got a real bargain here. And one of the things that was smart by Brighton, much like Caicedo, was, of course, to get Mac Allister to sign a new deal. But interestingly, he signed the new deal before the World Cup, and that settled him. So from a football perspective, it was perfect for all parties. But obviously, even Brighton couldn't have predicted how outstanding Mac Allister would have been at the World Cup. And had they extended his contract after the World Cup, I can guarantee you that the number that allows clubs to talk to the player and sets the foundation for a deal would have been significantly higher. We're seeing a sort of sliding scale reported from the valuation that people believe he's worth, which was 60 million plus, to what is actually in the contract, which is perhaps closer to 45 million. My understanding is that it might even be less than 45 million. That is what I understand from sources. So this could be a phenomenal bit of business for Liverpool. So we're not talking about the actual player's worth now. We're talking almost about what Brighton baked into the contract as undermining their position now because of how Mac Allister excelled at the World Cup, which is very interesting. There's nothing that they can do about that. It's almost unfortunate that he performed so well that they had absolutely no choice in the contract but to negotiate on slightly less preferable terms. So it'll still be a phenomenal bit of business for Brighton, but not to the number that has been consistently reported, or certainly not to the number that Mac Allister has been valued at if we discount the contract and just look at what he is worth within the market. And this comes back to something I've said many, many times, which is that those looking at Mac Allister, including Chelsea before the World Cup, valued the player at under 30 million. They thought that was market value. And Brighton now, and fans listening from that club, may laugh that valuation out the room. But if, as I understand it, the contract had a number in it that is under 45 million, it shows you that even Brighton's valuation at that point before the World Cup was significantly less than 60 million. And Liverpool have been able to capitalise on that in order to now get a deal, what I think we can term as very close. But I want to reiterate once more that sources close to the deal are adamant that there is still talks taking place today. It doesn't mean that Fabrizio's "here we go" is wrong. It doesn't mean that they've not scheduled the medicals. It just means that Liverpool are cautiously optimistic and expect to use this week to get the deal done, which has always been the direction of travel. But there are more meetings still taking place today. The other thing I would say before we go into Chelsea is just that